Rob, check your pockets. You didn't check your pockets before we ran the washing machine, and I think you left a Trek in there, and now it's all stretched out and faded. And well, anyway, hey Rob, how you doing? It's Trek in your pocket night.
I just checked my pockets, sad and wilted, limp. No, the Trek in my pocket is fine, but it's just fine.
There you go. That's right. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, it's lucky number 13 tonight in our 50 novel cavalcade of the first 50 Star Trek pocket novels, having used up all of the Bantam novels, all 14 of them, well, 13 plus Journey to wherever it was, Horatius, Mission to Horatius. We have jumped onto the bandwagon that we rode all the way through junior high and high school, the pocketbooks bandwagon, and we are randomly choosing the first 50 of those novels. Tonight is our 13th selection. It's number 27, Mindshadow. And here to talk to me about it is my buddy Rob. How you doing, Rob?
I'm doing good, pal. Yeah, we were just talking for about 5 seconds off air. It sounds like I liked this novel and you didn't, but maybe I'm burying the lead here. But it's good to see you tonight, buddy.
Yeah, good to see you too. All right, so yeah, this is the first one that we're going to do. I think it's the first novel on the list. Maybe it's not. No, yeah, maybe it's not. So this is the first of 3 novels in the top 50 that J.M. Dillard wrote. J.M. Dillard is, of course, Jeanne Kalogridis. It's a pen name. Jeanne Dillard, yet another author who was a female author who decided at some point in her career that she would be better received as a sci-fi author if she was not obviously a woman, which I think is unfair. But
yeah, and I was thinking about it because you hear this all the time, and we heard about this DC Fontaine in the '60s. Not that she was writing novels, but
yeah.
But if it was such a known thing that women were just using a couple of initials to make it seem like they were male, you wouldn't think anybody would fall for that. And then I just realized while you were talking that I always assumed J.M. Dillard was a guy. So,
well, there you go. It's funny how that works out. Yeah, Jeanne Kalogridis is, of course, still with us, age 68.
Where's she live? Where's we're going?
That's a good question. I don't think I looked that up. So, well, next time you're talking, I will look it up. All right. So she, like I said, she wrote 3 pocket novels for Star Trek that were in the TOS universe. This one, Bloodthirst, is number 37, and Demons is number 30. But maybe more importantly, this is really amazing. She wrote the novelizations of Star Trek's 5 through 10.
Whoa.
So she's going to start with The Final Frontier and go all the way through Nemesis, writing the novelizations.
That's interesting. I remember reading the novelization for 5 and really liking it back in the day. This would have been 1989.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've read any novelizations past 5. I have 6 and I have Generations, but I don't think I've read them.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I have not either. So, so let's see. The word here is that Jeanne Kalogridis lives on the West Coast. Doesn't say where. She spent a lot of time in Florida, and in Washington D.C. before moving to the West Coast. So we will look that up. We're not going to put it on the air because we want to be the first ones to find her.
That's right.
But it's important to know
we can. In your pocket?
We can do it. We can do a drive. Yeah. So it's interesting that she also lists as her interests yoga, Buddhism, quilting, dog training, and reading nearly everything ever published. So
that means she lives in San Francisco, Butch.
I believe all of those things do kind of scream Northern California, where the girls are warm, as you know. At least that's what Steve Miller says. So yeah,
they're warm from the armpit hair. No, actually, on Lindsey Buckingham's excellent album from 2021 called Lindsey Buckingham, he had a song called Santa Rosa. So I will even move you up another 40 miles north.
Fair. It seems fair. All right. So it's funny how this novel is one of many novels that we read, much like many episodes that we do, where there's a mission, but the mission becomes secondary to something else that happens that then drives all the action. So their mission The Enterprise's mission, they've been assigned to save some primitive foreigners on the planet Eritani from space pirates, right? But everything goes sideways because the pirates aren't raiding the planet from without, nor are they pirates at all. Nor does Kirk care after a while because something happens to Spock in chapter 1.
So, before we get rolling here,
Yeah.
this sounds like a fun setup. It does sound like something the Enterprise might actually,
that's true. Absolutely,
when
yes.
When they're not dropping off salt pellets or giving physicals.
Yes.
It does seem like, hey, a planet, that has, let's say, an agrarian society that's, not a superpower is being attacked by pirates and you're in the area, why don't you swing? That sounds like something a starship could conceivably be asked to do.
Yeah, I think so. And I'm not going to quibble with that at all. But what I'm going to say is that, and I think we have a novel where we meet some agrarian people that get involved in a plot later on, and that whole thing doesn't go well. I think that was Klingon Gambit, if I'm not mistaken, and that thing goes poorly. Or maybe it's the Romulans in that one. Maybe that was.
Do we know when this takes place in the original series?
Yes, we do. Thanks for asking, because the star date on this is 7009. Which means it takes place well after any of the episodes in season 3, but significantly before, like at least 400, 400 something or others on star dates before the motion picture. So it's
okay.
So this is late.
So maybe towards the end of the 5-year mission.
Probably very near the end of the 5-year mission, exactly, or maybe they're on their way home from the 5-year mission or whatever. Yeah, so because 7009 is like deep in. I think the latest start date I think Turnabout and Intruder are all our yesterdays are the two latest ones, and I think those are like 5900 or something like that in terms of start dates.
Yeah, and I think the animated series only went up to like the 7000s too.
I think it's 6,000, so it's probably near the end of the animated series. So yeah, that's very much there. So Space Pirates is ostensibly what we're going to stop, and that's you're as the Federation, as Starfleet, you're kind of the policeman of the Federation. In this case, the world Eritani is not a Federation world, but Kirk's going to go there and say, "Hey, we can protect you, and also the protection comes free of charge, but you could join if you want, and then we would still protect you. Nothing would change except you would just be members when you get the commemorative card, and you get we'll send you a picture of the congregation on your birthday and all that stuff."
Yeah, and maybe judging by the Cloudminders, maybe it really will leave you so well enough alone that we don't really know what the hell's going on your planet, even though you are a member of the Federation.
Minus, of course, outsiders shooting up your fields and stuff like that. So so we learn eventually that the Romulans are once again the villains. They have a little bit different of a plot this time. It's not big fleet movements and stuff like that that's going around. Seems like we've had a lot of them where we're moving lots of fleets around and planning invasions of the Federation. This is much more localized. This feels a lot more like something the Klingons would do, just kind of like trying to take a planet by subterfuge and stuff like that. We see that in a lot in the original series where the Klingons are trying to like weasel their way into a planet, right? And this is an interesting and different and new way to do that.
Yeah, it's kind of like reminiscent of Friday's Child or the Private Little War, right?
Yeah. Oh, those are very good examples of that. Yes.
Now, Butch, let me ask you this. So, did you remember reading this novel?
Oh, no. I don't think I remembered anything about this novel, right?
I didn't remember anything about it, but so much of it was familiar that I was guessing stuff along the way, and I know that's not from me being sharp. That's from me sort of remembering it.
I'd like to think that was me too, but I think a lot of it, she telegraphs pretty hard on some of the plot points. So that's partially why I think, wow, sometimes I'm like, wow, this author's really like, not hiding anything. But I think sometimes that's a trick that authors use, where the author's like dropping clues that are obvious enough and it makes you feel smart. It's like, I got this figured out. Yeah, they know. They're trying to make you feel smart so that you'll feel good about yourself. It's like, oh yeah, pat myself on the back and look at me. I've solved the Agatha Christie novel on page 65. That's great. So
that's right. But then sometimes it might be to throw you a red herring and like, whoa, I didn't expect that zombie to bite the shark, right? And you get surprised.
That's exactly right. Hey, but speaking of the Romulan stories and sharks biting zombies and vice versa, you know how in My Enemy, My Ally, they end up working with some Romulans against some other Romulans, and you know how in the Romulan way they end up working with some Romulans against some other Romulans, and you remember how in Web of the Romulans they work with some Romulans against some other Romulans. I remember, and remember in Killing Time when they work with some Romulans against some other Romulans. Well, guess what? It's going to take a while for them to give it away. But damn it, if they're not doing that again. Holy crap. This is like, we've done 5 Romulan stories now, and all 5, if they're batting 1,000 in terms of, well, sometimes the Romulans work with us, and sometimes the Romulans work against us, and sometimes the Romulans working with us are working with us against the Romulans working against us. Does that make any sense at all? Did I overspeak it?
I think we're making fun of it, but also it's kind of one of the things that I think has always made the Romulans more interesting than the Klingons is that they're a mixed bag.
A mixed bag, right? They're not what do you call it? A universe. They're not a monolithic people, right? Yes.
Yeah, they're not like, oh, hey, these are the bad guys and they're always bad. They're like the dirty cops of the. Maybe there's some good cops, maybe there's some dirty cops.
Yeah. Is it not till Star Trek V that we see them working with Klingons? I guess that's not fair because if I remember correctly, they do work with a Klingon at one point in one of these novels. But I'm Trek noveling, I'm pocketing.
Well, let me sidetrack you again, give you a little swerve here. So because I knew I had read this, but you look at the cover. Is that not Edith Keeler on the cover?
It feels a lot like it. Can we talk about the cover? The artist in question is famous fantasy artist Boris Vallejo, who paints this. But I'm looking at that and I'm thinking that definitely seems like Edith Keeler. It is, of course, not Edith Keeler, but it sure looks like a photograph of Edith Keeler. It sure does look like her. Maybe the hair's a little bit lighter or something like that.
Okay, what about this then? If it's not Edith Keeler, would you give me Megan Perry?
Yes, I don't know that she's mine to give, but to the extent she's mine to give, she's yours. Is that what you were asking? Were you asking me to? We'll have to tell Jim about this tomorrow. That we're giving you his wife.
But I mean, if that's not Edith Keeler, that's got to be Megan. I don't know who else it looks like. It doesn't look like a Romulan.
No, well, that's the whole thing. But if I'm not mistaken, it's supposed to be a Romulan in disguise, right? So maybe that's why they're doing a good job disguising. Yes, we're talking about.
Before again, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. This is a 2-person podcast, Rob. I think it's okay.
But spoilers. Did you know? Would you believe me if I just said, by the way, McCoy is gonna bones a Romulan in this one?
It seems unlikely at the start, yes, but I think I knew well before Bones did, as it were, that was happening. So, for what it's worth, I don't know how many times the author could say, "Wow, everybody seems to think she has really hot hands." And by hot, I mean like temperature hot.
Feverish.
Must be running a fever, right? It's like it's the fever of love. Yeah. So this is Emma Sines. We are talking about. She's our guest star, a brain doctor who's a double agent and also a 2-timer. I wrote, and also a subcommander, Subcommander Tenerius. She's of the Romulan Peacenik Dissident Group, which we don't get a name for, but that's okay.
This author has to be from San Francisco.
Peacenik. All we are saying is give.
We got free love in this novel and peace.
Yeah, but it's not peace. It's not peace. It's not peaceful between Kirk and McCoy, but we'll get there. All right. So we also meet our other guest stars this week are T'Pala. She's a human Vulcan protege of Sarek, if you can believe that. Trying out for the diplomatic corps. I don't really see why she's there, but she plays a pivotal role in the short time she's there. In a story that, by the time the story has meandered around the bend a few times, we get to where she actually becomes relevant to the story. And then we also get, as a guest star, one of the Eritani spokespeople, a farmer named Natahia. She's an old lady who speaks for the farmers and growers and the agricultural unionists on the planet. They've delegated her to negotiate with Kirk and company, so that's cool. We get a little bit of her at the beginning and a little bit of her at the end, and splash in the middle.
What about Thompson?
Oh yeah. So then we come to who's the new crew people, and the new crew people I have. The first one we meet is somebody named Muhammad Jama, as it were. Um,
he's
and
a bad Muhammad Jama.
That's exactly right. And he's injured in sick bay, and we see him for 4 pages, then he gone, and that's fine. Just somebody to talk Swahili to Uhura with before Uhura gets sidetracked by Spock. And then we meet Lieutenant Ingrid Thompson. She is tall.
Did you remember her?
I did not, no. Although I remember.
She's in a million novels. That's why
I'm guessing she's in Bloodlust, Bloodthirst, and Demons is what I'm guessing, if I'm not mistaken, right?
And more than that, even. Yeah.
So yeah, she's really tall, a bit of a Viking, and kind of not afraid to cast aspersions on senior officers. But that's the role of the security chief, is like to not be cowed by. It's kind of like how the doctor can override anybody on board about medical issues. I think security chief can kind of do that in terms of security issues, right? So
yeah,
and so she
and it's fun. They did this in Next Generation for about 10 minutes, but it's fun having a female head of security. I think it's a cool thing that they do sometimes on the Enterprise.
Yeah. Oh yeah, a few times, absolutely. A few times in the novels that we've read, and a few times in the TV series that we do. Talking to you, Tasha Yar, and La'an Noonien Singh.
Yeah.
Either or. In this case, Ingrid seems much more physically imposing than either of them. Yeah. But anyway, so then the last one that I had in terms of new crew is eventually, for a while at least, we need a replacement for Spock at first officer. So they send a message, and they get sent Commander Varth. Commander Varth is what they call a Rudian, I believe, or Rudian or Rodian. I can't remember. Which means he's a Klingon, but he's from a Klingon planet that doesn't do Klingon things. So he's like a Klingon dissident, peacenik, also from San Francisco, apparently. Here's what I'm going to say right now, Rob. I'm going to say that if they switch, that I think at some point she was writing this where the Klingons are the bad guys, and the Romulans are the person who's going to have a Romulan first officer who comes aboard, but is not actually. She's one of the dissident Romulans from a planet that's Romulans, but they don't meet with the Romulans or whatever, and that the Klingons were the bad guys, and it was a Klingon agent in disguise, who's boning Spock, or boning McCoy. Boning McCoy sounds weirder, and Kirk and stuff like that. Yes, bonesing. Yes, but it's the same thing. And then at some point she's like, "Hey, I got an idea. Let's flip flop this." And because I'm going to say it feels like the plan here feels more Klingon than Romulan, I guess. But maybe it's the fighters. I don't know. Maybe it's the indiscriminate like lasering of fields of crops and stuff like.
It's vicious. Yeah. And we know the Romulans are vicious, but usually they're not portrayed that way. We saw their viciousness in Balance of Terror.
Yeah, but and that's true. But in terms of really being interested in deposits of dilithium and stuff like that, I mean, you're right. We mentioned the ones already. Friday's Child, of course, and the other one you mentioned, which is slipping my mind already because I'm like that. And and also a lot of Troyes, right? They're all after the dilithium crystals on Troyes as well. So, or it might have been on Alos. I don't remember.
I blacked out about
halfway up. Halfway up the body scan. That's right. So yeah, and then what are our crew doing? Well, obviously McCoy and Kirk are having a I was gonna say a love triangle, and then I said just have a threesome already. No. Spock obviously gets grievously wounded, and then they still make him save the day at the end.
Oh, Don, let's not. So as a teaser, I pictured one of the things I liked about this book was it felt like an episode.
Sure, I think so.
And one of the reasons it felt like an episode was chapter 1 was this great teaser, before the commercial.
Yeah.
You know, they come to this planet, blah, blah, distress signal, swing by. They go down there. We got your classic, oh, it's so idyllic. You know, we might as well have shore leave here, whatever. And then Spock has a terrible accident.
The phrase you're looking for, Spock has a great fall.
Yeah.
And all the Boneses and all the McBengas couldn't put Spock together again.
No, it's brutal, though, because we don't know. Obviously, I don't know how much actual suspense there is, but it's like, oh, he might have brain damage. He might never be old Spock.
Yeah.
First, he might not live, but second, he might be, you know, a non-Vulcan shell of his former self. That's kind of a crazy start.
Well, can I tell you where I kind of come down on that? It feels like, I mean, I think we learn at the end that it's not true, but it feels like he just slipped and fell. Right? We don't know. All we know is he ends up at the bottom of a cliff and doesn't seem like anything happened. It's like, oh shit, did he just fall off that cliff? That seems like a lousy way for our hero Spock to go out if he's going out like that, right? I fell down and oops, I slipped on some rocks and I fell down and I'm brain damaged, which of course we learn is not true. But for a lot of this novel, I'm going, man, I can't believe they did him dirty like that.
But I mean, they did. You know, it's at dusk or maybe even nighttime. The old lady in the hut says, "Oh, you know, you shouldn't be out there. It's pretty dangerous tonight." And Spock, yeah, Yazzer.
Yazzer.
So that is so out of character. You go, well, how did this happen? What happened? What's the mystery? And unfortunately, Spock with amnesia, because he had bonk on the head, he doesn't know. So we're looking for answers at the start.
Yeah. Well, you said this feels like an episode, and I'll tell you another way it feels like an episode, which is I counted the pages. So McCoy is falling for this girl in 2.5 pages. And Kirk's fallen for her in like the third paragraph after he meets her. So, and again, he's not really falling for her, but he's like, oh, she's kind of pretty, which, you know, means he's getting some. Or normally would mean that, right? It's like, you know, somebody crossed his radar screen. It's like, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo, fire all missiles. Fire all your guns at once and explode into space.
Thank you. You know, you remember the story about how in the hippie episode, it was supposed to be McCoy's daughter, Joanna.
Yep, Joanna.
Which would have been awesome. And we all, you know, I guess from the books, I mean, you and I and anyone else our age.
That's all.
We sort of grew up knowing about Joanna McCoy somehow through osmosis or whatever.
Yep.
And kind of having this picture of her, although she's not in any movies or episodes.
Novel. She's in Crisis on Centaurus, I think. So she's on the cover of a novel. So that's where when I hear that, I think of the cover of Crisis on Centaurus.
Well, and I think she's one of the stars of one of the episodes or books. But so we had come across her, I guess, through the novels.
Yeah.
But one of the interesting ideas about that television episode, the hippie one, The Way to Eden, was the idea that Kirk was going to, you know, take a liking to her, sort of like the Shakespearean crazy bitch. and that was going to cause some static between him and McCoy, I think, understandably so.
Yeah.
Maybe they thought it was too much static, and let's not do that. But I feel like the author of this novel, J.M., sort of played with that idea. There is tension between Kirk and McCoy over jealousy over this woman, which I thought was interesting.
Oh, absolutely. And they do definitely play that up a lot, for sure. And it's hard when you see the two of them. It's really hard because McCoy is like, hey, I never get anybody. Why are you horning in, as it were, literally, on this girl that I'm obviously interested in? He's like, what did I do? I just went back to her quarters and she massaged my shoulder, and A leads to B leads to C. All right, here, let me give you my two things that really hurt me on this, okay? And I'll tell you what it is. So we do get a reference to another TV episode. And that reference is when Dr. Science says, you know, Spock may be beyond our ability to help, in which case we may have to send him to Ebla 2. It was like, Elba 2. It's Elba 2. And they say Ebla like 3 times. I counted, right? So Ebla 2. And again, Alpha Ceti 5. I know I'm hearing it, right? And maybe Ebla's how it's listed in the script somewhere. but it's Elba 2, and that, of course, is Whom Gods Destroy. That's where they send Lord Garth.
And it's an overreaction in any event.
Oh, of course. Well, she's trying to just get rid of him, is what she's trying to do, right? Keep him off the radar screen, which I'm going to say I'm not sure about. And then the other one is, who's manning the transporter in this episode, Rob? It's, of course, Lieutenant Lyle, as we all know. Good old Lieutenant Lyle, the transporter chief.
Lyle? Did not.
What's that?
How did I not notice Lieutenant Lyle?
Oh, over and over and over again. It's Mr. Actually, I believe Kirk calls him Lowell at some point. But either way, which makes Rob go lol. Yes, exactly.
Yes, I must have really been, because I read this in a couple days in my hammock, and that must have been a nice sunny weekend for me to just breeze past Lyle. That should have jumped up. I'm still upset about whatever I was upset about in the last novel, which I can't remember. And to not notice Lyle, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's Dick for sure. All right, so and I will say one more thing. I'm not holding this against her, but every single writer, with the possible exception of one, I don't think actually any exceptions so far in the novels we've read, the Pocket Universe, Sulu and Chekhov are just there, barely just there, nothing just there. I mean, Sulu gets what's that?
What year is this book?
This is 1986, January of 86.
It's strange because Wrath of Khan, and especially Search for Spock,
yeah,
had a lot of Chekhov and Sulu.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I guess that's the exception, right? That's the exception. Is Star Trek II, the novelization, is the exception, right? So people ought to know you can totally use those characters if you want to. Just nobody seems to. They give a little bit to Uhura to do. Scotty gets to crash a damaged shuttle, and he gets to be accused of murder, and all that stuff. So that's fun. I mean, that feels like an episode right there, right? It's like, I don't remember killing her. I don't remember.
Yeah, that actually was something where I was like, wow, really? And that didn't land. That one didn't land for me. Is it true to the series? Yes. Apparently, there's a homicidal maniac just below the surface of Scotty. But
that's right.
He got into his affable, I'm just going to tear open my, trail mix packets and Pop-Tarts bridge that we're going to get in Star Trek V. But he's obviously still, Lecter-esque.
Yes, very good. All right, so so anything else you wanted to cover before we hit there? Like I said, I think they do a good job of painting a few lines between some of the episodes and stuff like that. And you'll say,
Hey, before we really dig in, I thought this was a fun book. Am I saying it's a masterpiece? But I did enjoy it. I thought it was kind of a fun, breezy summertime Star Trek novel. But we'll get into it.
Breezy summertime, right? So here we go. Then let's get in. Chapter 1. Kirk and Spock, like you mentioned, are standing in a scenic spot on an alien planet. Purple Mountain's majesty and everything. I mean, it's like all the Earthlings there are rhapsodizing about jasmine, wildflowers, animals, striking curious poses.
And that is so original series.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. At least 4 times I can think of that, right? The apple, they do that. The planet with the spores, they do that. Omicron Ceti 3, I think that is. All that stuff. It happens all the time. And of course, on the planet with the preservers and all that stuff, yes. So for sure, they'd like to do that and say, boy, wouldn't it be great if we could just spend some time here? Scotty really wants some shore leave. He's like lobbying right now in the first chapter for shore leave. It's like, yeah.
Because everybody usually is like, no, I just want my technical manuals in my quarters.
Yeah. Well, I'm assuming when he was lobbying this hard, I'm assuming he must know that they have some dirtbag dive bars on this planet, because that's where Scotty likes to go on shore leave, is the dirtbag dive bars, right? Yeah.
That makes sense.
Faux show. We see that in novels, but we really see it in,
You don't tell an old Aberdeen farmer's market crawler how to apply.
Doing this means I'll take the asparagus at 3 credits a pound. That's right. So So they're meeting with Natahia, as I mentioned. She's representing the girls on Eritani. Kirk is upselling her about the benefits of Federation protection and membership. And most important, we're here to stop those darn pesky Raiders. And that, I mean, that's for me. I'm all for the Raiders being defeated. We had dinner NFL preview today. If I've staked anything, I've staked my life on defeat the Raiders is very much in my front of my mind.
We both agree that the Raiders, whatever iteration, are in our top 10 most hated sports franchises across any sport. Yep. For both of us.
Absolutely.
I hate
completely agree. There we go. So, and then we learned that she says that there's pirates that have been raiding. We learned from others that they must be using cloaking devices, right? And then we learned, well, these little scout ships, fighters that zip along the surface, and they come down and then they just randomly appear. Yeah, go ahead.
One more Raiders point, Butch. My children went to Bellingham High School. That was the home of the Red Raiders.
Okay, Red Raiders.
Fairly recently, they felt the burning need to change that to Red Hawks.
Yeah.
Even more recently, I don't know what the problem with Red Hawks was, but they changed it to Bay Hawks. So this is the Bellingham Bay Hawks now.
Oh, that really rolls off the tongue, doesn't it?
Yeah. Do you think we're Las Vegas Bay Hawks anytime soon?
Well, you'll notice that Las Vegas. It's interesting because Raiders, of course, have been identified with pirates, right? I mean, the Raider on the football uniform is pirates. These guys are called pirates. I suspect that Bellingham might go back to the day when Raiders were, peaceful white settlers being raided by red people or something. Maybe that's where they're going. That's what I'm imagining. Of course, it's Bellingham, so it could be anything, but that would be my guess or whatever. And so then they're like, well, it still says red. We should take the red off of there. So
about Red Hawks.
Nothing. I mean, if I remember correctly, a lot of teams that have changed from stuff like the St. John's Redmen. St. John's University was the Redmen when we were in high school. Right. By the time we leave college, they're not that anymore. They're the St. John's something or other. Red Storm or something. I can't remember what they are, but they're still red, but they're not red men. What made the red man red, as it were, if you're Peter Panning on me, but
I get changing red men. I do, absolutely. I'm on board with that.
And Red Hawks, Red Hawks feels like there are things called Red Hawks. So I don't know. But all I know is that Romulans are also into birds, but they're green. So that I think we got that covered. So if you're on Romulus somewhere, they're like, oh, we can't have football teams named after green people because except they're all green. So never mind. I really haven't thought this through a lot, but
they're what, Butch?
They're green. They're green.
There you go.
There you go. All right. So Spock wants to take a few more scans, some minerals that he's interested in. You just take a few minutes, and then Bones is ministering to some wounded farmers that have been phasered up by the pirates and such. That, if you remember, that last raid by the pirates was the season that Stargell went hit 330. So there's a lot of injured farmers because Stargell was on. All right, so I do that.
Yeah, no, it's kind of cool though. Because apparently the planet is totally peaceful. It's just a bunch of people living their best lives. They're not even really organized, and they're getting viciously attacked with flamethrowers and the equivalent.
Of
bodies.
Lots of phaser burns are very vicious, and our heroes aren't having it, right? So that's why they're definitely interested in protecting him for it. So this is when Spock's a little late reporting back to their concerns. They go look for him, and they find him at the bottom of a 300-foot cliff or something along those lines, and he's grievously injured. And now here's where I'm going to say this is probably part of what put me off of this novel. I think it got a lot better as it went. But at the start, Kirk's flat out hysterical. Like non-rational hysterical. He's like, well, he can't be hurt. He's Spock. I can't. And he's like, he might have brain damage. He's like, what does that mean? Make him talk to me. Make him talk, Bones. It's injured. It's so chill out, dude.
Well, I didn't think he was as over the top as you
He might not have been, but I really was reading that as like, why would he talk? Make him talk.
I'm very used to Captain Kirk. Like, is he alive? I want to talk to him, and Bones gone. That's not a good idea. No. And he's like, wake him up.
Well, in this case, Bones is trying to tell him he's not capable of speech. We could wake him up, and he can't. He's not going to be able to talk, right? His brain is. And listen, I think this book is going to do a little bit to probably try and explain what traumatic brain injury is to your average reader. Might not know. I think they're going to look into this as we go on. I'm going to be amazed how sympathetic Vulcans are to traumatic brain injury. I'm kind of surprised at that. It hurts a little bit. I'm like, wow, you'd think Vulcans would like maybe have heard of this happening before. It's like, it's not Spock's fault that he's not getting the rules of logic, right? His brain is damaged. But then you learn maybe at the end there that, well, he realized his brain's not damaged, so why is he not getting it? But we learn there's an alternative reason. Anyway, I'm shadowing. I'm foreshadowing. Mind foreshadowing. For mind shadowing.
I don't know.
I'm all over the map. I'm all over the map. I said, seriously, Kirk is like a little kid whose dad got hurt. And he's like, he can't be hurt. And it's just, I think she lays it on a little too thick here, is what I'm saying. For my taste, at least, right?
She set the oh shit! I forgot what I was going to say.
I'm battered you into submission. It's my fault. I'm sorry. I'm filibustering here. So, but anyway, once they erect this shield, as it were. The shield's supposed to prevent these raiders from coming down out of orbit under the planet's surface. So now that the shield is up and enough time has passed, they're like, well, there's no raider that has cloaking devices that can last that long. So free to do shore leave. So they beam 200 members of the crew down for shore leave, including Spock, or not Spock, Scotty, and one of Scotty's lasses, as it were. Who he's a little bit smitten with, Lens, I guess is who she is, and then damn it if the Raiders don't come back and laser some people up.
I thought this part was maybe, like you said, the subtlety wasn't quite there, where it's like, yeah, our planet has lots of underground caverns, and nothing can get in from above, and oh, what's going on? And it's like, obviously, they're in the caves or whatever.
Yeah, I didn't get that. I didn't get that as much as you did at the start. So I think if I had gotten that, the foreshadowing kind of makes it look a little bit easier. But that being said, do they not scan these? I guess they can scan the caverns, but if they have whatever, name your mineral that keeps you from scanning for the story plot purposes, that works, right?
Maybe it's from Enemy Within.
Yeah. Yeah, the yellow ore. Don't get that on your clothes. Yes, exactly. Probably could be.
Nobody knows what it is. It's bad for transporters.
Yep, yeah. That's right. So the crew's down there. The pirates are no longer a threat. Then Spock finally wakes up, and Kirk is immediately pissed at McCoy. Why didn't you call me? I told you to call me the second he woke up. The second he woke up, McCoy's like, well, he's like, I told you to call me. Because again, anyway, I digress. I'll stop. I've made my point. And he's severely disabled. I mean, he can't really talk, and stuff like that. We learn later that because his of the damage his brain has received, he's lost some of the Vulcan discipline. So now it's painful to be around people whose thoughts he can read, especially when they're emotional. And so Chapel and Kirk are really hard for him to be around and stuff like that.
I did like that. I thought that was interesting stuff. Did you?
Yeah, like I said, I'll say I'm of two minds of that, as it were. First of all, I think it's interesting, and second of all, it feels like we're just kind of like wallowing in his humiliation, and it's hard. I mean, it's a valid story point. It's hard to read. It's like when he's clearly struggling, and you're like, is he going to be struggling forever? We know he's not going to be struggling forever because This is not going to be a permanent condition. We just don't know how it's going to get fixed at this point. What we don't know is it's not as bad as we think it is what we don't think. So, yeah, so anyway, the pirates show back up and they attack the surface again, and there's 200 crew down there on shore leave, and they're like, they just can't figure it out. They can't stay cloaked for that long. They can't have gotten through the shield, although they do a little hypothesizing about, well, maybe they have a something that can, like, phase through a shield or something like that, or a shield neutralizer, but we don't have any indication that they have that technology yet. But it has to be something, because they haven't figured out the thing you had already figured out. So,
well, I'm not saying I'd figured it out, but I will say I was questioning Kirk's command decision, like, there's been a terrible, violent, deadly attack. My first officer has mysteriously suffered grievous injury. Yeah, beam him down. Scotty's off estimate is they could only stay shielded for 7 hours. It's been 7 hours and 8 minutes. Let's beam half the crew down.
7 hours and 18 minutes. But yeah, that's exactly the point. It happens too quickly, right? So what happens is there's 6 or 7 Romulan surface fighters that attack. There's a few dead crew, including Lance, who's Scotty's last, and Scotty is like not having it. He's like bloodlusted over this. He's like, because they show him visiting, they're like, how could they do this to these people? These guys are animals. I can't wait. If I get my hands on a pirate, I'm going to tear him limb from limb. Boy, yeah.
I was picturing a little cloud twirling around. I thought Scotty was going to talk about how they killed his brother.
Are you saying he Tasmanian deviled on him? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. That's exactly. He killed Piotr. Or I guess in his case, it would be like, he killed Argyle! My brother Argyle! You're the only child, Scotty. I ain't got a brother. You don't know. You didn't know! You know what color he is? He's green! Sorry, I'm really digressing here. I'm sorry you had to hear that, Rob.
Old Aberdeen sibling what his brother looks like.
That's right. So then we get some interesting stuff. Her visits to sick bay. She's knowing her role in this time is to be a caregiver and bringing some joy to people and some distraction from the taking away a break from all their worries. Sure could help a lot.
Oh, Spock has got some fogginess from bumpus of the nogginess.
We don't know that that's not what she did. Maybe she's saying that. We don't know. They don't go into. They just say she's saying. We don't know what she's saying. That's terrific, by the way. That's Vulcan free verse right there for you. Okay, so
I did Beastie Boys off the top of my head. So
she meets up with the aforementioned Muhammad Jama, who's like there for 4 pages and gone, and that's fine, just a throwaway there because they're really just. She went down there to see him, but then she hears Spock's there, and so that's just her excuse for being down there to see him, and then she sees Spock, and then suddenly she's like, okay, Spock's my project, is what it is.
Do you think I don't know what what are you doing this weekend, Butch? You going to the big Mama Jama party?
Pajama Mama. Bahama Jama Mama. That's right. So all of that stuff. Yeah, and so Spock hears her singing and asks Chapel about her by name. The first word he says is Uhura. So because he heard her singing, and so she's like, okay, I'll send her in, which is very nice. I think Yeah. Meanwhile, while this is happening, Natasha on the planet is telling Kirk, we feel bad. I mean, your people got hurt on this planet. We got hurt on this planet. It's clear you can't protect us. So probably the best thing is for you guys to just go, because all that's going to happen is you're going to get hurt. We're going to get hurt, but we don't want you to get hurt trying to protect us. So just go. Basically, is what she tells him.
It was not even that nice about it. She's like, "You pretty inept. So why don't you get the fuck out of here?"
Yep. And so that's kind of putting an end to that. Of course, so it's weird to get defeated in chapter 2, but that's kind of where they're at, is they've been defeated in chapter 2 already. So then we get immediately arriving. They must have called for a Vulcan specialist to come, a Vulcan neuroscientist to come. And so in arrives Emma Sands, and she goes to McCoy, and McCoy's like, I asked for a Vulcan neuroscientist. She's like, yeah, I'm a neuroscientist who works with Vulcans. They're like, oh, I've been a neuroscientist who was a Vulcan, but I guess that'll work.
And I thought the author did I'm sure it's on purpose job of planting the seed. Like, she's here sooner than I expected.
Yeah.
And so I'm not going to bother checking to make sure this is really the person. That, it turns out maybe she was, but it's kind of, I don't know. My antenna were up a little bit. Like, she's weird. She's different. She's hot to the touch. She arrived like an Amazon package before you order it. It's a little fishy.
It is a little fishy. She literally does it's like it hasn't been hardly any time at all, and she's there, and you're like, well, they got help there early. They don't say how she arrived. She just is all of a sudden in sick bay, which I didn't even give a second thought to, but I immediately started to suspect. Well, not too long. It wasn't immediate. It's a couple chapters away that I'm going to start to suspect what's going on here. So yeah, here's the thing. So they immediately bond over bourbon. She's going to be helpful because she knows a lot of her stuff. And then, of course, they're setting up that Bones is like, yeah, she is kind of attractive, and the bourbon's working on me. And then Kirk walks by, and Kirk's like, well, she's not the hottest thing, but she's cute in a bookish kind of way. And now, I mean, they are setting that up early, and I mean, they're projecting hard. We can see what's going to happen. It feels like, right? I don't think we know how hard it's going to happen, but they're definitely setting up the triangle. Is what I'm saying.
Yes, for sure.
Yep. And then Emma immediately starts beefing with McCoy because she's like, so you didn't tell the captain that you think it'll be months or never before Spock recovers? And he's like, well, I just trying to keep from whatever. And then this all happens during the conversation when they first meet. And at the end of that conversation, Kirk's like, hey, so I got to work out in the morning. I do some kung fu or whatever. She's like, I kung fu. We should kung fu together in the morning. Okay, 6:00 a.m. Be there. I mean, you're a little girl, and I don't want to mess up your pretty little face, but we'll do it. And let's just say, so then that scene is like Charlie X in reverse, right? It's like, when Charlie X, when they're trying to do judo throws, Charlie and Kirk, it's like pretty obvious who's going to get thrown there, right?
Well, it reminded me, you know what this reminded me of, Butch? Tell me if you agree with this. It reminded me of, 6:05 on the Superstation on Saturdays when you'd watch wrestling on TBS. And Ric Flair would give some kind of a bullshit open challenge, while he's out there wearing a suit. Nobody in the world can last 10 minutes to be something to that effect.
Yep.
And they'd have some up-and-coming guy who'd be like, I'll take the challenge, and Flair would be like, you cannot be serious, get in the ring with them. And then the guy does a couple hip tosses, and all of a sudden, the nature boy isn't laughing anymore. And that's kind of what this felt like. What do you think of that?
Oh, that's a very good example because, I mean, it's pretty, Kirk is like saying, well, those are some pretty fancy tricks. First of all, she comes out and she's a black belt, and Kirk is also a black belt, right? But Kirk is, let's say, 170 pounds, and she's like 110, right? So,
yep.
So that's the thing is like, so he's like, well, those are some pretty fancy tricks. And she's like, that's strategy, by the way. It's not tricks. It's like, well, maybe you'll have to show me your trick. I mean, your strategy, something like that. And so wink, wink, next time we do this, wink, wink kind of thing.
Butch, didn't we see this in Goldfinger when Pussy Galore?
Yes.
He threw James Bond a couple times.
That's exactly right. That was 1964. So yes. Yeah. This is 11 years, 21 years later. I guess that's true. So that's an interesting point because we do see that there, right? Yeah. And so then Emma meets Spock for the first time, and this is when I think she gives it away right here, right? So there's a point where she meets Spock for the first time, and they leave her alone with Spock because why wouldn't they? She's the expert, so she's the only one in the room with him. And there's Spock kind of thinking she's soothing and hypnotic, but then she's like mind melding with him against his will.
Yeah, not the nice kind. We talked about this.
Yeah, and they say something about the line of how she knows now. She knows now. He knows who she is, but he's gonna forget. We're like, well, what the hell does that mean, right? We know something's going on, but we don't know what's going on, right? It's like she's obviously not just the nice person that we're thinking. Plus, the fact that the 110-pound girl was more successful at throwing Kirk than we thought she would be.
Right, which she gives a shit explanation. She's like, "Oh yeah, I lived on Vulcan for 8 months, so I kind of got used to the gravity." It's like, huh. And maybe if it was one or two of these things, it would be believable. But it's like a house of cards, right? She's there before they ask for her, almost. Yeah. She's on board without anybody realizing. She's throwing the captain around like he's a bag of peanuts.
But listen, it's really interesting because we're going to learn that she's a spy. We're going to learn that she's a spy for the good guys before we learn anything else. But the fact that she knows that means she's got secrets, and she's like accomplished in ways, and the thing is, she's also good at manipulating people, because it's pretty obvious that McCoy is deferring way too much to her. It's like, well, she says this, and they're like, okay, well, just do this because you say so. There's this new medication. This new medication, we'll give this to you, say it'll help. I guess we'll just do that. And
we know that is not typical McCoy. McCoy usually, above anybody on the crew, doesn't give a fuck. If he thinks he's right, he's not. It could be Kirk. It could be an admiral.
Yeah,
it could be a turnabout intruder.
But that's exactly right. But then you go, okay, so what's a way to get McCoy off his game? Because normally on his game, he would not fall for this stuff. How do you get him off his game? You throw a little love at him, right? And she's making pretty eyes at McCoy, and it's throwing him off his game. He's like, well, I obviously don't want to get... She's great, and I think she's awesome, and I want to keep reinforcing to her how awesome she is. And if that means that I just go along with whatever she says so that I'll get to, a little while, I'll do that, is what I think's going on. I think because that's what spies do. They use sex against men like that, and she, I think, right now, is doing that on purpose. I think we'll learn later that she kind of like, it became real for her after a while, but at the start, I think she's just playing it, is what I think.
It's Matahari.
Yeah, Matahari, exactly, right? I might have actually written Matahari in here somewhere, I think. So meanwhile, they've we learned that he's lost the Vulcan mind rules, and he's going to require constant observation and maybe even restraints, because he may have behavioral changes because of these things. I literally have a friend from college who just got back from a 4-month visit to see her dad, who had a traumatic brain injury from falling on his face in his yard, and he has now had personality changes that make him argumentative and belittling and condescending in ways he never was, and so that's very true. I mean, and that's one thing I like in here is that
with TBIs,
they're rolling stuff that you're people who don't know the stuff are learning stuff from reading this, right? So good for them. I think that's always good. So, but the problem is they've been watching the skies. Go ahead.
Well, and the other thing that's interesting about it is, of all the characters in the Star Trek universe, the one would be most atypical for would be Spock, who also happens to be the most beloved character in Star Trek.
Yeah, I don't think that's even debatable.
Yeah, so the stakes are high. It's like, oh my goodness.
Again, Ortega's first and then Spock, but it's fine. We don't have to. We don't have to compare. So, gotcha. So anyway, Romulan fighters. Kirk's been saying we got to keep our eyes out for Romulan fighters, because as soon as we get one, we're going to capture one, and we're going to question them. So there's fighters below. They have Mr. Lyle transport one aboard. They put a tractor beam on a couple of them. One of them gets destroyed by the tractor beam, but he gets the Romulan off of one of them. Actually, we learned that they're Romulan fighters, but we don't know who owns them. But then it's a Romulan on board the fighter as well, right? So they've captured one. Scotty is immediately making veiled threats about harming a pirate to Kirk. They're going to question the Romulan, which is fun. Kirk is getting a little bit territorial about Emma as well. And then Bones says he has a Romulan truth serum, and she's like, "You have a serum that works on Romulans?" And then he's like, "Wow, they're not too dissimilar. They're pretty much Vulcans." And she's like, "They're not the same as Vulcans. Romulans and Vulcans are not the same." And she's very adamant about all this, and McCoy's like, "Well, I may disagree, but I'm not going to argue with her because I'm." Did I mention what's going to happen?
Yeah.
So
the old Clamulan web, as they call it on some of the more, dark alley.
All right.
It had to be said.
Yeah, that was pretty clever. That was pretty clever. Yes. So Emmett's testy is what I'm saying. And so they're examining the Raider wreckage. And while they're examining the Raider wreckage, they get word from the brig. Yeah, by the way, the Romulan prisoner's dead. What?
You know what the Raider wreckage is called?
Derek Carr?
Their season.
Yeah, thank you. 5 and 12. That's what I'm calling for the Raiders this year. So yeah, so they're examining the wreckage of this Raider, and all of a sudden the Romulan who was aboard the Raider is already dead, and they're like, what the hell happened? And it turns out someone stunned a guard and then opened the door and then vaporized the Romulan prisoner. They don't know where he is, but there's a phaser there, and there's residue of somebody there.
This feels 100% original series.
Agreed.
Because if we know one thing, you are not safe if you are in the brig being guarded by some asshole in security.
Somebody's going to come up and pinch you in the back of the ears, and it's going to knock you out, and then they're going to open it, or somebody's going to come in and zap you, and your antenna's going to break off, or weird shit's going to happen in the brig. Yeah, the brig is like the most useless place in this entire ship in the original series.
You might as well just have an unattended room guarded by a curtain. I mean, it is ridiculous.
Now, don't open that curtain. I told you not to open the curtain. All right. So that's when we meet Lieutenant Ingrid Thompson. She's chief of security. And then she immediately starts beefing with Emma, who's there for some reason, and then she says something about your line as well. By the way, we confirmed that it was your Romulan who got vaporized. And Emma's like, my Romulan? So it's weird because it feels like Ingrid's already kind of figured shit out that Kirk and McCoy haven't figured out yet, right?
Also, I want to say Emma, for as I will say, she's an interesting character, but she's also kind of sloppy.
Yeah.
She shouldn't be throwing the captain around. That's fishy. She should not be, oh, you caught me taking my blood pressure exotic medicine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, she is not real discreet about what she's doing.
I think that's for our benefit. I will give counterpoint on the throwing Kirk around. I think that's how you get Kirk interested.
I agree that it hooks him. It makes her intriguing, but also it's I guess
So I don't know, but you're right. It's like he should be like, why is there a girl who can throw me around this easy? I should be way stronger than her. Maybe it's not clear to him that it has anything to do with strength. And if she is what we think she is, then she is clearly stronger than a human, but for the same height and weight, right? That height and weight for a Romulan or a Vulcanoid, as it were, is higher. Kind of like than a normal human. Not quite the proportional strength and speed of a spider, but you don't have to be Spider-Man, right, to throw Kirk, is what I'm saying. So, sorry, am I marveling on you?
Also, I bet you once or twice in his, academy days, Kirk got slapped, smacked, or otherwise knocked around by a woman. So he's probably like, well, it happens once in a while to the best of us.
That's right. You know who I bet did it to him? Janice Lester. That's who I bet did it to him. All right. So so Thompson wants to know who might be a murder suspect, and we're like, Scotty. But you know who doesn't mention that Scotty said, I want to tear them limb from limb? Kirk, who he said it to, says nothing to Thompson about it. I'm just going to put that in my pocket because I know Scotty didn't do it. And we know Scotty didn't do it. Come on, we know Scotty didn't do it.
Come on, man.
But all this everything's moving along fine and dandy. Uhura does some more music therapy with Spock, and then there's a surprise party arrive, and they give him a medal. I guess it's the Purple Heart kind of a thing that they give him. I don't know.
What is the medal for slipping?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is for. It's you give it to somebody who's injured because they're injured, even if it was they shot themselves in the foot.
Yeah, not only that, what didn't they say? It's like the Starfleet's highest honor. Like, really?
Yeah, I mean that's the highest Z Magnes Prize. Is that not? No, that's for science or something.
Yeah, because I unsuccessfully went out to take some readings, so now I get the Federation's highest honor. I thought that was odd.
I think everybody believes that Spock needs a pick-me-up, and they don't understand that you proceed from a false assumption, Uhura. I have no ego to be bruised. Of course, we know. No, we're going to learn that is not true here. He's got all sorts of bruised ego happening and about to happen and going to continue to happen. But and by the way, that's all understandable, right? So, so Emma says, well, we might have to send Spock to Ebla too. Anyway, yeah. And did Spock, and because they suspect Spock tried to kill himself. And they're like, it can't possibly, Spock would never do that. And she's like reminding them, he's not the same Spock anymore, right? You can't, just because Spock would never do that, you can't know that Spock would not do that now.
Right. So we're going to send him to the planet for the criminally insane?
Well, here's the thing. I think we're supposed to assume it's Elba 2, but they do call it Ebla 2, so maybe it's a different planet. Where they have the Tantasul colony.
I'm picturing like a Sandals,
See,
let's send them R&R.
Well, see, Captain, we're down here. We always like to give people a drink with an umbrella in it, Captain. I think we can all agree. Sorry, am I Tristan Adamsing on us? That's my best Tristan Adams impression.
I want to say that I wish we had 20 Tristan Adams episodes. I love that guy.
Never gets old. That guy, nothing like a Brooklyn accent in a Star Trek series. That's right.
What a great guest star.
Yep.
Anyway.
For sure. Yeah, I said not our Spock. Spock, nay, I say thee, nay. Spock would not try and kill himself. He insists he did not, but Emma is soothingly accusatory and essentially accuses him of lying, and McCoy and Kirk call her out for calling him a liar.
May a novel never be so vast, or the page is so cold.
You're just thinking about Helen Noel. Admit it. You can admit it. You're saying Tristan Adams quotes, but you're picturing Helen Noel in the blue outfit, and you know it.
Christmas coming early.
Yeah. So that's it's okay. We can admit our foibles. It's fine. So again, now Bones is pissed at Emma about Spock, but he just has too big of a crush on her. He can't, and it's all defused because he's starting to get pissed at her, and so that scene ends with him kissing her, and that's how she's manipulating him.
And nothing will give you a big giant blind spot than a crush.
Again, so. it's spycraft, and she's a spy, and I'm not blaming her for doing it. I'm not blaming McCoy for falling for it. That's what happens. But I'm saying, does anybody not think she's a spy at this point? She's totally manipulating him, right? It feels like this, and we're getting the hints about hot hands and stuff. We've already gotten that at least once,
Yeah.
And then, by the way, it's awkward because then Kirk comes over to McCoy's quarters later and says, "I'm kind of can't sleep. You got something you can give me for sleeping?" And he hears like a from inside his quarters. He is like, "Oh, you got a girl in there? Oh, you got that girl in there! Damn it!"
You know what it was? It was Starship Troopers. Come on, we got to leave in 10 minutes. Make it 20 minutes.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Except if the lieutenant wanted to bone Emma Sands himself, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Bones. I'm sorry, wanted to bones her. I keep forgetting that. This is on there.
Right. One is lewd and one is.
Yes, that's right. One is
very microscopically less lewd.
So then he sees Emma taking her pills, and he sees her hands are really warm. It's high blood pressure pills. He's like, you know how to be careful with that. She's like, I know how to take medicine. I'm a doctor. And by the way, it's like, it's not fair for you to be looking into my medical history and stuff like that. By the way, he has never looked into her medical history. He's definitely obeying HIPAA rules, unfortunately.
They didn't even check her ID. No one even knew she came on board. It was crazy, but when I'm reading all this, hot hands and stuff, I'm like, he's fucked. It's like in Double Indemnity. You're like, this guy's screwed. It's over.
Well, the viewer knows, but he doesn't know because he just can't see past the green eyes, I guess, as it were.
No, we know that he's doomed, and we get it. It's like, I get it, dude. It's not your fault.
So he says that they've decided to send Spock back to live with his parents on Vulcan. And she's like, that, you can't do that. Don't do that. And he's like, well, it's going to be done. Why are you fighting me so hard on this? He says. She's like, so that's when, he says he's going to make the call. Yeah, he's going to make the call and he's going to take responsibility for it. That's a Leonard Bones McCoy right there. We get him finally right there. He's cutting the cord, as it were. Man, we are only on. That's the end of chapter 4. These are long chapters.
That's my beef with the book.
Yes, it's like we can break these up a little bit, right? But you have to have that long chapter 1 so you can have the big before the credits teaser, thing.
Yeah.
But I don't think chapters 2, 3, and 4 had to be that long.
I agree. No, give me 8-page chapters.
So meanwhile, chapter 5 opens where it's Spock's quarters. Spock's in his quarters. He's not in sickbay anymore, and Emma's in the quarters with him. And then Kirk comes in and he tells Spock that he has a new replacement, First Officer Varth, and Kirk is acting all injured while interacting with Emma because
Lieutenant Varth.
Hey, Lieutenant Varth, you vile something or other. Yeah, I think Lord Varth. That's right. Lord Varth McCullough. So then we get an interesting thing where Spock is being shuttled to Starbase 12 before he goes to Vulcan, and it's Scotty and Chapel. Chapel's there with him for the medical purposes. Scotty's there presumably to fly the shuttle and to keep him off the ship so he doesn't kill any more Romulans. But I digress. And it seems like there's a malfunction, and you're like, well, that's weird. But then it seems like there has to have been sabotage, right? Are we supposed to assume this shuttle's been sabotaged?
I cue the music, yes. Listen, all y'all, it's sabotage. And here's where, because the author will, this is a beef about the book. The author will try and tie this up in a pretty bow at the end. Yeah. Oh, I'm a double agent, and I had your best interest at heart, blah, blah, blah. It's pretty clear to me that she just tried to kill Scotty, Chekhov, and Spock.
Chapel. But yeah, your point is well taken. And that's the thing. She just needs to not have Spock remember. Right? And we're not clear why at this point.
I'll buy that, but not have him remember because you killed everybody on the shuttle.
And then try to make everybody forget about the fact that the shuttle. But the thing is, nobody ever really just comes to the conclusion that the shuttle was sabotaged. I think we're supposed to.
It seems unlike, because the author makes a point of Scotty going, I checked out this.
Yeah, and that's right. Scotty doesn't make mistakes like that. The fuel gauge. Oh, by the way, we're out of fuel. Oops. Did nobody check to see if we were out of fuel? Didn't you go before we left? Jesus. All right. So all of these things, yeah. And again, I think that's that. So they essentially say they're going to crash. Spock figures out a solution, but he's too slow, so he can't tell the solution until it's too late.
So do you think that's bad writing, or do you think she forgot that she started that thread? Or
yeah, I don't know. I think it's obvious that at least for Emma Sands, it's obvious that Spock is less important than her mission. I think McCoy is definitely not less important than her mission. I think Kirk is just being manipulated by her, but I think McCoy is the only one she really cares about. Right? And so if she has to, and she just needs Spock's story to not get told, and if that means Spock just gets taken off the game board by a shuttle accident, that's fine. And if that means Scotty's got to go, and that means Chapel's got to go. I mean, if Scotty's not there to answer for his crime, and she thinks Scotty's going to get framed for it, well, that works for her too, right?
Yep.
So then they'll just conclude Scotty did it, and nobody will suspect her, right? So
I think, and I'm on board with the Romulans saying, hey, you want to make an omelet, you got to break a few eggs. That's fine.
Yeah.
But then I'm saying, don't try and wrap it up so that we feel somewhat, as we close the book, sympathetic towards the Romulan, because she is, I would argue, a heartless bitch, spy or no
spy. I want that heartless bitch laid out on a log, spy or no spy. Yes, I'm with you on that. So, yeah, and so and I said, how about this one? This is the thing. So they're playing jujitsu again. Kirk and Emma are. She injures him, right? She has a wrenched shoulder, and he's like, she offers to help. He doesn't want to go to sick bay because Bones is there. She's like, how about I go to sick bay, get the thing, and I'll take you down and give you some treatment. And then this is the line that gets me, right? In his quarters, and she makes about crack about injuring other parts of your anatomy. Did you get that one?
Yeah, I pictured her saying, "Okay, so where does it hurt?" And he was like, "Well, over here on my shoulder." And she gives a little smooch, and he's like, "Well, maybe up here on my temple and a little peck." And then,
just like Indiana Jones, this isn't so bad, right? Yeah, but that's the thing. It's like she literally says, "I'm going to wreck you later." I mean, almost the literal words. I'm going to wreck you later. There's other parts of your anatomy I might injure later. Is the phrase. I was like, "Yowza, okay." She's probably lying.
She nearly killed him.
But that's interesting. And then I'm like, "What about McCoy?" And she's like, "Oh, to hell with McCoy." She bends down to kiss. She bends down to kiss Kirk. She's already given him an injection. She says it's a tranquilizer or whatever to make his arm feel better. I wrote skyrockets in flight is what I wrote. I'm not sure if that's right. Meanwhile, as a result of all this, Emma's late for dinner with Bones, and he's pissed off, and he's going to find Emma. He calls sick bay. Oh no, she was here earlier getting a medical thing, and I think she was taking the captain's quarters. He's like, oh damn it! So now the love triangle has been sprung.
He didn't say, "Oh damn it." He was like, "Mother."
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Yeah. I believe he said it in Southern drawl. Oh, motherfucker! No, that's not right. Anyway, I can't do it in Georgia, mojito accent.
I was picturing what the Spore Planet McCoy having some attitude, like, "Listen, Jimmy boy."
Like, see just how fast I can put you in a hospital. Yeah. So then we get, holy crap, Sulu's in a scene. Because we're going to get some unnecessary stuff all over the place here.
So you read, what, 13 books? Who's the Sulu guy? Is he a member of the crew?
I don't know.
Who is this guy?
I don't know. But, it's weird because he's only really in this scene because they got to give some background on Varth, who does not need to exist in this novel, by the way. She's like throwing some stuff. So Varth is from Radu. Radu's a Klingon colony that's not Klingon anymore. It's like Romulans in reverse. Now Sulu's like, don't worry, we're fencing, and he's like, don't worry, Kirk's a fair guy. He'll give you a chance, even though he's just mad because you're replacing his buddy, and he'll give you a fair chance.
Hey Butch, so is this the first Dillard novel?
Yeah.
Okay.
The other two come after this.
Do you think she's like, hey, I have this plan for writing several novels for these guys, and I'm going to have some characters that I introduce that will be in novels down the road? I don't remember Varth ever turning up ever again.
I don't either, but I mean, it's obvious we think Thompson's a returnee. But the thing is, she writes, her next novel is 3 later. It's 30. This is 27. Demons is 30. And Bloodthirst is 37. So yeah, she definitely has plans. And I think, you're introducing things and you say, well, maybe I'll pick this up. And Varth, it seems probably, maybe we'll see Varth again. But because they're creating this Radu people, who are Klingons, but not Klingons and stuff like that. Then it just goes nowhere.
She doesn't just introduce a character. She introduces a whole new race. And it is a character that really is just there to be resented by Kirk, and that's and have a little fun with the Tellarites, and that's it.
Yeah, can we maybe hypothesize that maybe we're supposed to think he's a red herring, that maybe he's the one doing some of this? Because isn't he introduced about the same time that the Romulan is getting killed and stuff like that? Plus, then we're seeing something we're going to see pretty soon that transmitter unit is in his quarters and all that stuff. All this feels like it might be designed to make us think he's the guy when he's not the guy.
Maybe. I never got that vibe, but I suppose that's possible.
I didn't either. So I guess there's that. So, all right. So all of this is happening. And then when eventually Scotty makes it back with Chapel, they've dropped Spock off. Chapel has a broken ankle from the crash. Nothing comes of that either. But that's okay. So Scotty's being a gentleman and helping her in there. And Thompson's right there to arrest Scotty. Ta-da! She's ready, except he's not back yet. Actually, we're not there. She said she's going to arrest Scotty, but he's not back yet. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm shadowing, as it were.
Yes.
All right. So now we're going to spend some time on Vulcan. This was where this. All right. So now there's a whole other plot line that's going to happen with Spock's recovery. He's on Vulcan. He make him fucking walk to his house. Traumatic brain injury, but I'm just going to walk the 20 miles across the desert. There's a Lamatia out there. I'm fine.
Well, he has a brain injury, but he's.
Yeah.
I mean,
and
I didn't.
And he's prideful, right? I mean, he says he doesn't. He's not prideful, but he's prideful. This is his home. He's going to do it, right?
I was 100% okay with this.
Yeah.
And I'm all in on it. Any Spock world building you want to do, I'm in.
Yeah.
Vulcan, I'm eating it up.
Yeah, and so he goes home and he goes into his room. This feels like one of those stories you'd hear about Albert Einstein, who walks into his house, puts his feet up, grabs a drink out of the fridge, turns on the television, and he finds out he's in the neighbor's house. Because Spock goes into his room, he sees the name board on the outside. He goes into his room and there's a girl in his room. He's like, "What the hell? Who are you?" It's like, "Who are you? Who are you? Who's this kid? What's he gonna do?" And that's a Hamilton reference. You don't get. It's fine. It's okay.
Well, and also, I feel like she should recognize him.
She should recognize him. I mean, he's definitely well known. Plus, there's got to be a photo of him around somewhere.
There's got to be a photo, and he's almost a legend on Vulcan, as we know.
Almost a legend. That's right.
Yeah, it's kind of like finding Zephram Cochrane and going, "Yeah, this guy seems vaguely familiar. I don't know, not ringing a bell."
Well, it's funny because let's talk about that Zephram Cochrane thing again. So they make it sound like Zephram Cochrane disappeared 100 years ago, which he did, and they're like talking to people in the 60s, going, "You remember 100 years ago, photographs were brand new." Well, this is 100 years ago, so it's like it was 100 years ago in their time, which means it's like 200 years in the future. So why do they not know? Surely they'd have photographs of one of the most famous people in history, right? Yeah.
Planets named after him. Huh.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I'm all in on there with you. All right. So it turns out Amanda's there, greets Spock. The girl's T'Pala. She's a half human, half Vulcan, and orphan. And she's been taken under Sarek's wing. We're going to learn, trying to get in the diplomatic corps. And then also Amanda's teaching an Andorian child about stuff like that. And then Sarek comes in, and Sarek is kind but distant. I was like, that's Sarek. What else is Sarek if he's not those two things, right? So he probably also talks in an even voice, probably.
I'm just gonna say Mark Leonard, one of the great guest stars, but Sarek's got to be one of the most interesting characters ever introduced.
Yes, absolutely, and I think we have he's another character that pops up a lot in the novels. We had him a couple novels ago, helping out in the planet that was being flooded and stuff like that. So getting a little action, doing a backstroke, piloting a skimmer, all that stuff.
He's got his own giant novel. I'm looking at it by A.C. Crispin. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Hey, so then there's
I'm going to assume it's the chick.
That's probably it. So that's a good question. I hadn't thought about that. So whether she's in other novels. So Sarek and T'Pala are talking about diplomacy over a game of chess. Diplomacy being what's going on Aratani, right? And it's like, how should we come? Because this is going to become Journey to Babel in a little while, right? Where we're going to get
totally is.
Yeah,
in fact, I think they directly reference.
And it's funny, they reference other times when it's like you had to decide whether you're going to help people, like Betelgeuse, Capella, which is Friday's child, Yanada, which is Hello, for the world is hollow and I touch the sky. They're just throwaway references, but we get those. That's called an Easter egg, and we like that. We do like that. We do like that, right?
I've got my bib on. I'm getting second helpings. Yeah, I'm all for that.
Yep, I'm here for that, and it's here for me. So that's important. And we learned that T'Pala is his protege, essentially. Meanwhile, back on the ship, Kirk and Bones are dancing around the Emma in the room. I wrote "Jealous Again," which is a song by the Black Crowes. It's very much, that's what's playing. Dear, 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 dear. You don't probably don't know that song. It's fine. Just know that
I
they're
know that
jealous.
one song.
Just know that they're both jealous. Yeah, they
Well,
talk to angels.
I'm hearing Two Timer by Kiss.
That also definitely works. So that then we're going to go back to Vulcan, where Spock is being taught by a Kolinar disciple named Stalik. No apostrophe, by the way. Yeah.
The Girl Is Mine by Michael Jackson. I'm picturing McCoy and Kirk.
We're not going to fight about this, Bones.
Jimmy, baby, she said she was mine, and she didn't like no other cat.
Yeah, but after she mind melded with me, she says she can have no other lover. I don't believe it. Yeah. Oh boy. Woo, man. We could totally have written that into the novel. I'm just saying. That's right. All right. So Spock's trying to get taught how to recover by this famous Vulcan teacher, and he's not reaching him, and it goes badly.
I thought this was real interesting.
Yeah.
I like this. I obviously knew or remembered that it's the drugs.
Yeah.
I was not remotely surprised, but I liked the fact that the Kolinar guy was getting frustrated. Spock was getting frustrated. I liked all that.
Well, so that actually starts to make sense, because if the Kolinar guy is a Vulcan, he probably knows from like reading Spock that it's not brain damage that's holding him back. So why is he not getting it? He's just not trying hard enough. But he's not trying hard enough because these drugs, which perhaps the Dalek guy can't detect with his mind powers, make it just seem like he's lazy, right? And he's not trying.
Well, and we've learned, whether it's through the show, the movies, the books, whatever, that Vulcans are nothing if not stern and hard on their kids, and you need to learn this stuff. And if they're that way when a kid's 5, then they're not going to be real forgiving and understanding if they're 35.
Yeah, it's a Ballad of the Tiger Mother for sure.
45 or whatever, yeah.
And that is definitely true. So basically Spock gives up on Stalik, and Stalik gives up on Spock, and then Spock is also hurts Amanda's feelings. He's like, I'm a telepath, so I know when I'm being called, or when, basically accuses her of like, lying about him or being mean to him or whatever. And she like is really, really hurt by that.
That was rough to read. It really was.
And then this chapter ends in a very strange way. He has a whole handful of these drug that he's been given. There, these little purple pills, right? And he's like looking at him and going, "Boy, these are pretty. Maybe they could be useful in another way." ... You're like, "Holy shit! Is he suiciding again?" And nobody thinks this is actually happening, but that's how they're setting it up, right? Geez, these are pretty and stuff like that. I think what he's having in his mind is that they might have another use, and that other use might be, this is what's keeping me down, because he apparently flushes them down the toilet. Vulcans have waterless toilets, but they still have toilets. Vulcans poop. It's okay. Everybody poops.
I think this would have been, you could have done this better in a visual medium like television, where Spock sort of, because they don't show this, they do a cutaway, but really what he's having is he's like thinking about the drugs. It's the drug.
Yes.
But the author writes it like, oh, he must be suicidal, which I agree with you is nonsense.
Yep.
I don't believe that for a second. But I think in a show you would have realized he was really having like an aha moment. Right?
Yes, that's exactly right. I'm trying to come up with an aha. Trying to, the something on TV, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I'm having my trouble bringing up the correct aha song title here, but The Loneliest Boy in New York.
It's not the sun always shines on TV. It probably wouldn't be the blue sky.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, we'll have to think about it. We'll come when we redo this book in 45 years. When we revisit in 45 years, we'll come back to it. All right. So now we're going to digress quite a bit. We're going to just replay Journey to Babel for no good reason here. Enterprise now been assigned to take delegates to Vulcan because they're going to talk about Eritani. and whether Aratani should be helped or not helped.
It was kind of fun, though.
Oh, yeah, I get it. It's just, I think it's a weird thing to do here. And it's a weird thing to add this late in the book, but it's fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, Spock is having a moment of clarity. Seems like he's getting better. And his memory about Aratani seems to be returning, although they don't say it straight out. And then we meet, Enterprise goes to Tellar to pick up an ambassador, and the ambassador's name is Zev. And I was like, oh, come on. That's the same guy from Journey to Babel. That's Zev, right? And he gets killed, and it's like, yeah. Then I looked it up, and it's like, oh, it was Gav. And then I read one more page in, and they're like, yeah, by the way, Gav. And I was like, oh, shit, yeah, she knew that. But I'm not taking anybody's word for it that she doesn't know that it's Lyle or Ebla. Maybe she thinks Gav is still alive, or Zev, as it were. So
that's true. Obviously, though, that episode had a big impact on her.
Yeah, for sure.
Also, she read your mind, because she was like, you know what? Some asshole out there is going to think it was Zeb. And I'm going to point out that, yes, Zeb was in that party, but he was not dead guy in the corridor.
Nope, that's right. Zev was in. They do mention that he was in the party with Gav, right? But it's fun because so somebody's going to get killed. It's just not going to be Zev or Gav. It's going to be a Cygnusian. We don't know who Cygnusians look like. They're tall and stick-like, easily breakable, is what we learn, right? And of course, they find the Cygnusian ambassador murdered, and who did it? We don't know, but I think we know. It was Varth. We all know it's Varth, people. Come on.
I thought it was Scotty.
Yeah,
so I'm not gonna lie.
It's all good. So meanwhile, back on Vulcan, T'Pala didn't get the gig with the diplomatic corps. And now she's like spiraling. She's like, "What am I supposed to do? Tell me what to do, Spock." Spock's like,
goes off. She goes over the edge.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And that's too bad, because I liked her.
Yeah, and yeah, she's having a moment of crisis.
Did she seem a little too closely written to be like Saavik to you, almost?
Yeah, I think that's fair. And this is a post-Saavik novel, so now you're probably thinking, oh yeah, young Vulcan women who are impressionable and stuff like that. We could write those. Those are interesting characters.
Proteges of Spock's family.
That's true. Yeah, she's half Vulcan and half human, but yes, still works, right? So that's a good point. So this is something interesting happens. If you want to talk about Babel conference, right here, this is it right here. Uhura says, by the way, I'm detecting a transmission coming from inside the ship. I was like, for fuck's sake, come on. This is Journey to Babel. It's like Journey to Babel, Act 3, Scene 2. I mean, it's like, what are we doing? And Kirk
should have said that. I wish someone would have said that. I'm like, are you kidding me again? We just did this 2 years ago.
So Kirk goes into McCoy's quarters, and because he knows as soon as he hears McCoy, he's like, "Oh, good, I'm going to get her." That's just what she needs, is me to get her. Since I can't have her, I'm going to arrest her. So he goes into her quarters at phaser point.
Did this feel Enterprise incident role reversal to you? Like, I thought she was going to demand the Federation right of...
I read a statement, yes. Yeah, it does feel a little bit like this, but she's like, no, you got to check with Admiral Comac. I'm a Starfleet intelligence agent. And then she's like, by the way, yeah, I did drug McCoy. He's asleep over there because I had to send my little telegrams by the secret radio thing. But it's okay because just check with Comac. And then he hears later from Admiral Comac, yeah, she's one of ours. And he's like, damn it.
By the way, I just want to say, I know she drugged him, but was that necessary? Because we all know that McCoy probably...
Yep. That's exactly right. Come on, we know. She just want to make sure he doesn't need to get up and have a sandwich or something like that, or a Georgia mint julep, which could happen. So all of this is happening. He kind of buys Emma's story, and then, by the way, there's sabotage in the engine room. Now, what the purpose of that is, I don't know really what the purpose of that is.
So I just figured out the secret to writing a Star Trek novel. Yeah. Every time something happens in an episode, you write it down on a piece of paper, not unlike a fortune cookie. You throw it in the bowl. you go to write your book. You just start pulling out things that you liked from previous episodes, and you insert them into your novel.
Yeah.
It's like Mad Libs.
Yeah, I think that's exactly because it just does not need to be there, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter because there's sabotage, but Kirk and Emma are still karateing it up. I said, and Spock's meanwhile back on the planet. Spock's on the mend. He's still trying to be a mentor to T'Pala, and meanwhile, someone's attacking Sarek. And it's weird because so he goes out. Okay, so somebody's attacking Sarek, and he intervenes, and Sarek has already got a knife wound across the chest. We don't know how bad he's hurt. Maybe he's gonna die. We don't know. And then Spock
this is Journey to Babel, spin the wheel, make a deal. I mean, she's just like she's changing the names of the characters. Yeah, the same shit is happening.
If he jumps off the wall with that double foot kick, I'm gonna scream. So yeah, so then the guy, whoever this guy is that's attacking him now, Spock, overpowers him. Is like, well, here's the thing. I'm just gonna hold your arm and I'm just gonna cut your arm open like you committed suicide, right? With this knife, and then all of a sudden he like vaporizes, and where he was standing just a second ago, Spock is looking, and there's T'Pala with a phaser in her hand. She's like, yeah, I saved you. Anyway, it's been real. It's been fun, but it ain't been real fun. And she just turns a phaser on herself and phasers herself.
Spock's like, hey, could you write me a note clearing me of
the... That's right. So, yeah, that ended ended quickly. I mean, T'Pala was like, we hardly knew you, T'Pala. Now you gone. Was she a Romulan agent, by the way? Or was she just an innocent bystander to the Romulan agent that was there trying to kill Sarek?
No, I think she was a kind of a wannabe. She went around the bend so fast.
Yeah.
She was immediately signed off practice squad. When she did not get the gig at the ambassador hotel, she immediately signed with the Raiders. That is to say, the Romulans, and she just went nuts. And then, come to find out, against whatever I thought in my head, I did not picture Vulcans as being the Keystone Cops, because they are about the dumbest police ever, whatever they're called on Vulcan. Like, Spock must have killed them both. What?
Vulcan Security Force, yes, exactly. It's nonsense. Well, we do learn that Sarek's going to survive, so that's important.
Yeah.
And then here's the thing. Back on the ship, Chapter 10, two things. The warp drive is repaired. It's like, I guess hours really do seem like days when they're repairing ships, because that didn't take long at all. And now we can just forget the whole explosion thing happened, because why did it happen in the first place? We don't know. Just another thing that happens that somebody on board is supposed to do. I guess she did that too. Are we supposed to conclude that Emma did that also? She's the only agent on the ship as far as we know, right? I don't know.
I see your point that it's getting a little kooky here. She's starting to throw shit at the wall, left and right.
Yeah.
The author.
So here's the thing. Thompson says.
What is the point of sabotaging the ship anyway?
I don't know, just to keep people off the trail, right? It's like something else to worry about so that they don't focus on the thing, right? It's always, I'm getting a little close, so something happens over there, so that they have to go over there and pay attention to that, and they forget their line of thinking that was leading them to you, I guess.
Yeah, I guess she's like, I can't ball everybody on the board, so I'm going to have to do some other diversions. I mean, I'm busy with Kirk and Bones.
Getting busy with it.
But yeah, I'm going to also have to sabotage the engine room. Of course, that'll go fine. I'm going to send secret transmissions over here, and I'm drugging people over there, and I'm crashing shuttles over here.
She's a busy beaver. Holy crap.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. Thompson comes to Kirk and says, hey, by the way, I discovered this transmitter. And Kirk's like, oh, no, you don't have to worry about that. I know about that already. Because he thinks it's the one in Emma's quarters that he knows Comac is given permission. She's like, well, we found it in Varth's court. He's like, what the hell? Arrest that man. Put him in irons, leg irons, stock in the middle of town square. Put him in the stocks. And as soon as, and there's poor Sulu. You can see Sulu for like half a page again. He's like, so anyway, I noticed you arrested my new buddy. What's that for? He's like, shut up. It's like, okay, I guess I won't ask. And then the worst thing is later when Varth is cleared and he asks Varth, so anyway, what happened? And Varth's like, shut up! I don't know. It's so brutal what they're doing to poor Sulu. He's like, I guess I'll just sit here and not talk to anybody ever again. When's Chekhov back on duty?
This is why Sulu probably went back to talking to plants that look like hand puppets.
That's exactly right. Anybody wonders why he took his own command instead of staying there at the helm of the Enterprise? Anything to get off this thing, it'd be mean to me.
He's like, you know what, fuck these guys. I'm going to go down to the gym. No one's going to notice that I left the bridge right in front of the captain.
Yeah. So this is when Kirk and Varth return, and Varth's been cleared, and they learn about Spock, and it looks like it's an attempted murder-suicide according to the Keystone Vulcan cops, as it were. And then Emma's like, look, don't go see Spock. They're like, fuck you, we're going. She's like, no, trust me, in my medical, don't you believe my esteemed medical opinion? And Bones is like, screw you.
The Vulcan planetary security, whatever. I mean, the Chris Benoit murders got investigated longer than this. It's like, I bet it was this guy, and that's what happened. Case closed. No more questions. Thank you all for coming. Sorry, this press conference has lasted 20 seconds. I mean, investigation from start to finish on Vulcan is apparently about 45 seconds. Thus, Spock convict.
Yes.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal. Emma, of course, does not succeed in talking them out of going to see Spock. They're on Vulcan. He's there. Why they wouldn't do it, I don't know. But she's like, it's going to embarrass him. Well, we know him better than you do. She's like, yeah, but it's bad for, the Vulcan medical journals say, don't see him on the days ending in Y. And
I expected her to say, all right, you're right, I've been pressing. Could you at least give Spock this ticking present from me?
Well, what she does instead is interesting. What she does instead is she's like, look, it's either you go see Spock and I leave, or you don't see Spock and I stay here with you. And so give McCoy credit. He's like, well, I'm going. So I'm going to sad you're going, but if it's me or if it's you or Spock and I think I can help Spock, I'm going.
Had he already proposed to her?
Nobody had talked about it.
Yeah, so which is very, par for the course.
Well, they get there and they find out that they're in the hospital. They find out Sarek's going to recover. So that means we're going to get the truth, and we know we're going to get the truth. And then Spock gets slapped out of the Vulcan healing trance. Hello, kitty, which means our buddy's back. He's got the Vulcan mind powers again. So we know that to be the case. So we're all happy to see that. And now they're immediately going to put him in charge of figuring how to land this novel, which seems it's unfair to him, but that's what they're going to do. The attacker was a Romulan. They figured that they have that's how they figured out there's an underground lair on Eritani, and part of it's because Spock's remembering stuff. He's remembering how he got hurt on Eritani. He was avoiding phaser blasts, which is why he jumped. It's weird that they didn't know there were phasers being shot or whatever, but that's fine.
That is weird. Like, right above where Spock fell from, there's phaser burns.
Yeah. So now we're in the end game now, right? So Emma's leaving the ship, and McCoy goes to stop her, beams back up to stop her, and they're like, Bones, you need to be careful because she might be capable of killing you. And sure enough, she phasers him. We don't know how. All we know is she phasers him, And so did she kill him? Well, we're probably sure that she didn't kill him. It's only episode 20. It's only novel number 27. So we're pretty sure he's not dead, since we've already read episode 50, which is about him, or novel 50, which is about him. So, she not only she phasers him, and then she takes out Mr. Lyle, and then she takes out Lieutenant Reams, who's on security detail, and then she takes out Lieutenant Thompson, despite the whole Mutt and Jeff size difference there. Thompson's a little bit, I did thought she was going to go left and she went right. And, well, anyway, I'm making no excuses, Captain. She's tough.
Yeah.
then we learned, thankfully, Bones was not actually vaporized. He was just stunned. I wrote, there's still love there, I think.
So you're saying there's a chick.
So then Kirk and Spock and Sarek talk about the vote to protect Aratani. They're like, it's probably not pirates. It's probably just Romulans. The intrigue on about the planet's natural mineral wealth. So then they put the cloak back on the Enterprise. This is the one that got an Enterprise incident that they put on the Enterprise? Because they're just like, the cloak is installed. I don't know where else they would have gotten the cloak. They must have busted the one they got it from Enterprise incident back out of mothballs and put it on there.
I thought they had like turned that over, but maybe they.
And why do they need it anyway? Because it turns out they're going to get fired upon even under the cloak. I really don't know what's going on here.
I don't know.
But that's fine. It's fine. So they decide to beam down to do what? I don't know what they're going to do. They're going to go down to the secret underground lair. Varth, there's something going on with Varth. He's also Starfleet intelligence, and he's given them some info or whatever. You know, I read it twice and I missed the stuff with why does Varth have information for them or whatever. It's okay. It gets them down to the planet. What they're going to do is they're going to go down in these fighters, and they figured out that the pilots get like beamed out of the fighters and down into the cave complex or whatever. So
Kirk, I was this kind of J.J.
Abrams. Yeah. So Kirk's flying it, and I guess Spock is in the bomb bay or whatever, and they both get beamed down to the planet. Now they're on the planet.
Kenny Loggins in my head.
And they gotta we gotta find the shuttle bay and the phaser controller. We gotta find the cloaking device. So you'll go that way and I'll go this way. And Spock manages to get away, but Kirk gets captured by a Romulan subcommander. Any guesses? 3 guesses. She's got warm hands. Does that help? Yes. That's Subcommander Tenerius, who happens to be like Emma Sands with like pointed ears. And that's cool. So she's a subcommander and has been playing both sides. So did Comac actually confirm that she's an agent for him, or was that part of the whole there's 2 transmitters / blockers on board? I won't know really what happened there.
I didn't like how Kirk just is like, well, it seems legit, hey, you can confirm this, Captain. Obviously she's up to something.
Yeah.
Oh, here's this vague message with no chance to ask follow-up questions. Must be legit. I thought he was a little hasty. Turns out it could all be on the up and up, which I was like, huh. But yeah, I think it's a little vague.
And I guess that's fine. It might be vague. I'm open to the possibility that it was there and I missed it, right? So I'm open to that too. So Science Teneris is. I was not happy with it. Yeah. So Teneris is a Romulan who's doesn't serve the Praetor, which means she's a dissident of sorts, right? She cops to having given Spock the neodozepine to keep him from to keep her from needing to kill him, right? She was keeping him dumb so that she wouldn't have to kill him, because if he knew what he knew, then she'd have to kill him. And she didn't want to kill him, except when she did the shuttle thing, which was going to try and kill him. But
yeah, which I'm fine with all that. I'm not fine with Kirk and Bones going, huh, yeah, okay, sounds good.
Yeah, that's exactly right. It feels like you got to pick a side at this point, right? She did try to kill Scotty and Chapel and Spock. And
I'd be like, you know what, lady? No, this is not okay. Your name, you say first it's Subcommander, now it's MS Sands. Well, my name is Fuck You.
all of this is happening in my brain too, right? But she's going to make up for it, because she's like, look, I'm going to beam you guys back up to your ship, and then I will stop the phasers and blow this whole thing up. And so they beam up to the ship and just sit there and hope that the shields will last long enough. And just as they think they're about to get blown up by the weapons below, there's an explosion down below. The shuttle base is destroyed. Presumably she might also be destroyed, but maybe she lived through it. We don't know. There's a subcommander TARDIS who's now in command down there, and he essentially looks like he's going to surrender, but then they just commit suicide. Very balance of terror. Like, that is not our way, Captain. Switches a switch and goes, ah! And the whole thing blows up. And then, yeah, so that brings an end to the Romulan threat. So Nahatia says, yeah, we'll join the Federation. It seems like it's all going to work out after all. So we'll join the Federation. And that's where you have the freeze frame on the bridge and you go, da, 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 except no. The only question is Emma Teneria still alive? Maybe we'll meet her again someday. My guess is that McCoy will meet her again someday, and they're gonna meet. They're gonna, because she is like sneaky and is like a double agent on Yonata now. So what's gonna happen is he's gonna go back to see Natira on Yonata, and who's Natira's like handmaiden or whatever. It's Sub Commander Tenerius. It's gonna be, yeah, that's gonna be awkward. Another love triangle.
Or it could be, and we talked about this before, but I want to believe there's a Yonata follow-up sequel novel. There has to be.
One would hope.
But I want to see the one where, because she's, Natira is basically like King Solomon of her planet.
Yeah.
So she's handling stuff, kind of like Don Corleone. You come in, you tell him your problems, he makes a decision. Have Zeppo handle it, have whatever. I'm expecting that you might even handle, I don't know, child support hearings. And who comes before Natira but McCoy and Sens, because she's got a bun in the other foot.
Yeah, see, it's rife with possibilities, is what I'm saying. I think you're exactly right. So here's the thing.
I think if anybody else is banging the Romulan, we're thinking that she goes away pregnant. But for some reason, if it's Bones, you never think of it again.
Bones had a vasectomy a long time ago. I'm sure. Sense. After his divorce, and he has a daughter, he's like, I ain't doing this again. So, to the extent that you can, doctor gave me a pill and my urethra went away. I don't know exactly. That makes sense. I don't know how that works. So the important thing is this novel ends with the planet now part of the Federation, we assume. It's not, and the Romulans have been stopped. Our double agent girl is dead, or maybe she's not dead. So we figured out that we're of different minds of this. So where do you have this ranked in our now top 13?
So some errors came into the light here as you're breezing through the plot summary, and it's like, but I'm going to say this still feels like a game where your team jumps out to an early lead and then plays it sloppy from about the middle of the third quarter on, but you still hang on for the win.
Yes.
Let's say you're up 27-3 and it ends up being 27-24, and it's like, oh, that was kind of a close one after all.
They don't go Atlanta Falcons in the Super Bowl against the Patriots. They actually pull out the win, is what you're saying.
They pull out the win. It's a little shakier than it looked like it was going to be, but I thought it was a fun novel. Maybe it's because she threw so many ideas out there that if she's only complete 50-60% of her passes, it's still a lot of good stuff.
Sure, yeah.
I like the teaser, Spock falling and having brain damage. I thought that was great. I like the stuff on Vulcan where we're getting some inside dope on Spock's family life, and I thought that was great. We're getting love triangle stuff with jealous Bones and pissy Kirk. I thought that was kind of fun. But there's a lot of nonsense in here, too. So your point is well taken. But on the whole, I thought it was fun. And I have it up in my top 5.
Ooh, all right. So, yeah. So where do you have it at?
Well, now I have to grab my reading glasses. Where are they? All right. Might be doing it without glasses. Okay. I've got, how many have we done? 13? All right. Double doubles at the bottom. 12 is the Klingon Gambit. 11, Doctor's Orders. 10, Killing Time. Now that means the top 9 I liked. I liked all of the rest of these.
Gotcha.
Deep Domain at 9. Web of the Romulans at 8. Star Trek II Wrath of Khan, which had its coffee table book released today.
I saw your pictures. I'm impressed.
It looks good. Oh, and it's beautiful. I haven't read it yet, but I was pretty happy. I'm gonna have to compare it to the motion picture coffee table book. I'm talking about the making of.
Yes, of course.
But anyways, Wrath of Khan's at 7. Corona at 6. I've got the 3-minute universe with its inside out people at 5. I've got Mindshadow at 4.
Oh, interesting.
I have My Enemy, My Ally at 3. The IDIC Epidemic at 2, and still by a country mile, I've got the Romulan Way at number 1.
All right, so my list is as follows. Klingon Gambit is still 13. I got Mindshadow at 12. I apparently had a lot harder time dealing with all these things than you did. I think the love triangle was. I think Kirk is acting way too much like he's Scotty in love in this episode. You know, when Spock is hurt, he's like derelict of duty. Like, oh, I spent some time down in sick bay with. It is like, yeah, we're under attack here, Captain.
Let me give you a counterpoint. Is there a talking pyramid anywhere in this book?
You make a good point. That's fair. All right. On the similar note, Doctor's orders at 11. On to that point, Doctor's orders at 11. Corona at 10, way too low. 3-minute universe at 9. Double at 8. Deep Domain at 7. I think that's the one where I'm pretty confident that's about where that one goes. Idic Epidemic at 6. Wrath of Khan at 5. Killing Time 4. All the top 4 are all the other Romulan stories. Killing Time, Web of the Romulans, Romulan Way, and My Enemy, My Ally at number 1. Still, this is a Romulan story that did not crack my top 5 like all the other Romulan stories. They said it couldn't be done. I know. They said it would never happen. I was sure it wouldn't happen. All right, so it's time. It's time to raid another novel, to pick another novel. So are you ready for the dice to do their work?
Am I ready? The dice said it. The dice knew I was ready before I knew.
All right, here we go. There it is. All right, so it's the teens then. It's 16 is where we're going. Number 16, that is The Final Reflection. Number 16. Ooh. One of the last ones. I just got that book. I just got that too.
I went down for last week when my mom, she had a heart attack. And I went down to Everett, and I had some time to kill, and I went to Half Price Books, which Jay had raved about. You know, they're half price. Yeah,
yes.
That's the point of the store. And I walked right in, and I knew it was going to be good because I got in there 20 minutes before they closed, and the first thing you come across, right dead center of the store, the Star Trek novels.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, and so I got the Final Reflection less than a week ago.
Wow, yeah, I got it just a couple weeks ago myself, so that's great. By the way, I think if we ever opened a used bookstore, that is where we would put the Star Trek novels. So good on them. They're doing it the way we would do it.
There's some bookstores where you have to really hunt and peck, and even if you find the sci-fi section, you can't find the Star Trek novels. This was the first. It took me 2 seconds.
Well, that's great news. So, yeah, so that's it for Mindshadow for us. We're happy that you came and hung out with us and listened to us talk for almost 2 hours about Mindshadow. And next time, join us here on Is That a Trek in Your Pocket for number 14, The Final Reflection.
I thought you said 16, but is this
16? It's 16. It'll be the 14th episode, book 16. Gotcha. So there we go. Yep. 16 for 14 or 14 for 16, The Final Reflection. And upon Final Reflection, Rob, take us out. If you will.
Live long and podcast, my friends.